It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment right. Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz, will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights.
The answer!
Hey, do you feel safe? Are you protected? Well, it's time to take ownership of your self-defense journey. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association believes the key ingredient to being a responsible firearms owner is proper training and education. The USCCA offers comprehensive training that helps you avoid danger while keeping you and your loved ones safe. More than 650,000 responsibly armed Americans like you have made the responsible decision to take control of protecting themselves and their families. So get hands-on training from certified instructors. Learn how to avoid danger, defend yourself, and protect your loved ones. Take responsibility for your own safety and visit uscca.com/GOR. All right.
What's up, everybody? Big shout out to Action Jackson and the crew, who's broken down in the deep in the heart of Texas.
Yeah, he's back in the deep in the heart of Texas. So I just told him we're going to get him out. They've got Monday. They're going to go in, and I told her how to walk her way through it so she can find out what's wrong with
Get
that.
everything all squared away. Well, our very best to you guys. I know you guys are listening.
Oh, you Jeep owners.
Is Walt with them, or is
No,
just
that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's just her and Action Jackson. Of course, Jackson, he's having a blast. He don't care.
Well, why not?
Yeah, he's just on a road
I
trip.
honestly, I remember when I was we used to have an RV, and my dad would take us. My mom and dad would take us all over the South and East to different like Civil War battlefields for vacations and stuff like that. And honestly, some of the best memories are when we broke down.
Yeah.
When we broke down, and not so much the Civil War battlefields, the museums, and Disneyland or whatever. It was the campgrounds we stayed at.
Oh, I can imagine.
Isn't that funny? I have a very vivid memory of being somewhere outside of Savannah, Georgia, and we stayed at this campground. And there was nothing. I don't know what was going on, but for the entire afternoon, I played baseball with a bunch of local kids who lived next to this RV. And that was like one of the best vacations. So my parents drove hours and hours and hours with this
For you to play baseball with some kid.
Yeah, some $50,000 Winnebago back in the 80s, so that I could play baseball with some stranger kids. Anyway, how's it going, everybody?
Going well.
Yeah.
Did you buy any guns this week?
No, but I'm waiting. Gunfighters milling out my slide on my Glock 19. So
What does that mean? Tell me, what are you doing? You had to get this red dot thing, right?
yes. So I'm finally I've come full circle now. I'm doing what I should have done right from the very beginning, which was to bring it to a gunfighter and let him just mill the slide for me so I can install the red dot. So now I have extra parts, but that's
And
okay.
what are you putting it on?
On my Glock 19, my
Glock
carry
19.
gun.
Have you fired a Glock with the red dot before?
Yeah, I've got one on my 34.
Oh, so this is just a...
Well, this is I've noticed that again, it's now that I'm elderly. I notice it's hard if I don't have glasses on. It's hard to focus on that front sight, which is okay for shorter things. But if I have to shoot more precisely, I need to be able to see the front sight. And I don't wear glasses most of the time, so I'm thinking, okay, it's time to switch over.
It's time to pull that trigger.
It really, I was fighting it, the whole red dot thing. Iron sights and blah 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 and blobbity blobbity crap, right? That's exactly, I think, the very best use for these red dots is, my eyes got old. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to. I think a lot of people. Like people that give Glock a hard time and people that don't like, these traditionalists and whatever and blah, blah, blah. If I'm in a gunfight, it's not for fun. I'm defending my life. I don't need to prove to anybody that I'm really good at handling a gun. I just want to be able to defend my life. So
I don't care what color it is as long as it protects me.
Yeah, and I don't need to know, and it doesn't, if you a real gun guy can, 1911 and takes off 47 safeties before they can. I just want to defend my life.
Right.
I just want to defend my life.
Yeah, and the red dots. I mean, I avoided it on the carry gun because I always looked at it as just it's another point of failure. That okay, the one time I need it, something will happen. It won't because I have had one. I had one fail on my other gun. And
that is a concern.
But you know what? I I could shoot well enough without it, and I mean for most things. So it wouldn't be, I don't think it'd be that big a deal. If I had to shoot something within 15 yards, I'll do just fine.
So that's why I actually got, there's two reasons I got that new Leupold, the little red dot Leupold for carry guns. One, I always have to be different. That's extremely important. I can't just do what everybody else is doing. But two is you're looking down a tube in this thing, and it's not a little tiny straw. It's a tube. And what ends up happening is if that red dot goes off, if the batteries go out or it just doesn't work, that tube turns into a rear sight. It turns into basically you have ghost sights on your pistol. So that was a big factor for me. Not there's anything wrong with anything else, but that's why I picked that, because I am worried about, it not working. The one time pulling it and it didn't work.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that over at Gunfighter Tactical 2 pointed that out to me, that the Hollow Sun red dot that I have, because I had to get the smaller, different configuration for the carry gun, and it's got the same thing. It's got a cutout back there, and it's co-witnessed with your front sight, your normal front sight, so I didn't have to put extended front sights or anything.
Yeah.
So it becomes a matter of focus. But like I said, if you don't have to do anything precise or at 40 yards or something, it's fine.
40 yards. We're going to talk about somebody that had to take a 40-yard shot with their carry gun here in a little bit. But shout out to two at Gunfighter Tactical. Thanks, man. Thanks for everything. He's a big supporter of San Diego County gun owners, and he's a fantastic guy. And I think I can't remember if he was. Neither of you guys made the picnic last week, did you?
No, I was in La La
Busted.
Land.
Both of you guys are busted.
Honda Civic Type R.
Good
Manual.
Honda Civic. What were you doing in a Honda Civic?
Manual. There was it was a reveal.
Oh.
I went up Tuesday night for the Blazer all electric, flew home, and then drove back up Wednesday morning for the Honda.
How do you like it?
Well, didn't get behind the wheel, but me, I'm a stick shift kind of guy. So
it's a stick shift?
If I did get behind the wheel, that'd have been the fourth one in 2 weeks that I've driven.
Oh, are stick shifts coming back?
I drive one out there on the streets.
I'm
stick.
Out. I drive a Jeep. I don't even
Those things are a great crime deterrent, because criminals can't.
That's right. Kids can't steal them. I know. So, it's crazy, but how was the picnic?
The picnic went really, really well. Everybody had fun. We had over 200 people.
Wow.
It was a nice venue at the Valley High. They have a nice little area in the back.
Very nice.
I think that we found a venue we're going to use more often. We're looking at it for the Christmas party.
Valley High?
Valley High. I might look at Tom Ham's Lighthouse, though. You know how much I like that place.
You really?
I really do. Oh, they've totally redone it. It's
like
super
the food?
nice. Food's good. New menu.
Okay.
New menu, new insides. It's all beautiful. Same view.
And it's not super hot out there on the water.
No, it's beautiful. It's awesome. No. I understand 5-10 years ago, Tom Ham's was a little rundown. But now, I love it.
Interesting.
Parking galore.
Reasonably priced?
No, it's way too expensive, to be honest with you.
That's why you're just looking at it.
About 50% of what you pay is for the food. The other 50% is for the view. I don't know. It's reasonable enough. It's not ridiculously overpriced. But it's not. Well, I was about to say it's not Wendy's, but geez, fast food these days is ridiculously overpriced. Denny's.
You wouldn't compare with Denny's.
We don't talk about Denny's.
Are you done with them now?
Well, until they bring spaghetti back. But thank you everybody for coming to the annual picnic.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. We gave some stuff away. We had some great conversations. It was a really beautiful time. So thank you all very, very much. And so we are gonna talk about Eli Dicken coming up here. He's the gentleman who stopped a mass murder in Indiana. And of course,
which they actually called him the Good Samaritan.
Yeah, they do.
For about 20 seconds.
Yeah, and then that was it.
Then the left said, whoa, we can't call him that.
Yeah, that doesn't fit our narrative.
No, my gosh, we have to bury this
We're going to keep talking about this guy.
All right.
Last Sunday, a mass murderer was stopped in 15 seconds into his rampage in Indiana. What stopped the carnage? A legally armed citizen with the courage to step into the fight.
But first, if you have legal matters that involve firearms, then you need to call California firearms lawyer John Dillon. If you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you need to know that your guns are California compliant, you need to call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws, Just call 760-642-7150 or visit his website at DillonLawGP.com. All right, so I have a trivia question for you.
Yes, sir.
How many situations where a gun was used actually saved someone's life?
Oh, I don't know. Do you know the answer?
Okay,
wait. Don't. Okay. So the question is, how many? Well, that's tough. How do you determine that? How many times?
Because they've been talking about it. I can't quite. It's over. The number is astronomical.
Well, so the statistic I do know is that studies, independent, studies from academia and government, CDC, FBI, that sort of thing. Studies show that between 1.5 million times a year and 3 million times a year, someone uses a firearm to prevent a violent crime. Is that the stat?
How come we don't talk about that?
Listen, if you watch my interviews on any, I say it all the time.
Even on TV?
I agree, Dave. Oh, yeah. We do not talk about that nearly enough because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Right. And
Stopping crime,
if you throw that to somebody that's against guns, then they get mad at you and you're a racist.
Yeah,
well,
in the vast majority of those too, the guns never fire. They don't have to shoot anybody.
Right.
It's just
Right.
pulling the gun out stops the whatever was happening.
But if I was a gun advocate, and I know you do because you're a serious one, that'd be. I mean, I would. That's all I would talk about.
1.5 to 3 million times a year.
I almost crashed my car.
1.5 to 3 million times a year, someone uses a firearm to stop or prevent a
fatal situation.
Yeah, and now that's a real. Now just to be clear, that's an extremely broad term. So it's everything from, hey, you're killing me right now, I'm going to use lethal force with my firearm, all the way down to, hey, you're threatening me. I believe you're going to, hurt me, and therefore I'm telling you right now I have a firearm and nothing happens.
Right.
It's a really broad term.
But
still,
it doesn't make any difference.
Right.
The excuse isn't relevant. It's how many lives were saved versus lost.
Exactly right.
I just had to bring that up because I don't know why I haven't heard this. I know, and I listen to you like church.
Lives and dignity. Yeah. It saves lives and dignity. What I mean by someone asked me about that. What do I mean by dignity? That is a very polite way of talking about a sexual assault.
Right.
So any kind of violent crime, 1.5 million times a year to 3 million times a year. And again, this isn't the NRA that did this study. This is Gleck out of Florida State University.
Wouldn't you think that they would have done that?
Well, it's just what I'm saying is if the NRA did it, there's every reason to believe that it could probably be a little biased.
Right, gotcha.
But if FSU does it, Florida State University and their criminology department does it, there's no reason to believe there's any bias.
Well, the other thing, and I think even the CDC numbers came out like that too.
Exactly.
Because I've heard stuff everywhere from 500,000 to 2.5 million. The thing, it's hard to get those numbers exactly because a lot of that stuff doesn't get reported.
Right.
If it does get reported, if the gun's not fired, the police, may or may not record that. And then even if the police do record it, they don't consistently report that stuff out to a federal entity necessarily. Right. So it's hard to get, exactly. That's why the range is so broad.
Right.
But
that's
still,
why it's so broad.
But those still,
numbers,
even 1 million.
Those numbers are so huge.
Yeah.
It's not even. You could, if it were 1/10 of that, it's a huge story.
I was just going to say, I don't care if it's 100 people. That's 100 lives saved.
Right.
Well, I think people are seeing it now, and it's hard, especially with this last thing in Indiana. And you're going to see more and more of that, too, because we're going to have more of the shootings. The shootings aren't going to stop.
So let's talk about this thing in Indiana.
All right.
So what happened was there was a mall in Indiana and a very, very typical situation with these mass killings. A guy who had sent out tons of warning signs goes to this mall. He has 2 rifles. My understanding is at least one of them was an AR pattern rifle.
Mm-hmm.
He had a ton of ammo. He had a pistol. He went into the men's room and prepared himself. Spent like 45 minutes or something like that in the men's room. Came out and started shooting. Started shooting in a mall.
Well, it's where the most people are.
And my understanding as well is that the mall was a gun-free zone.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, hey, don't bring your guns.
Well, it says right on the window.
Yeah. So it's a gun-free zone. Everything about this was typical. Typical. Except for one of the things that needs to be a lot more typical is there was an armed, law-abiding,
civilian,
trained, sane civilian. He wasn't a cop. He was never in the military. 22-year-old guy with a legal concealed gun engages this guy within like 15 seconds.
40 yards out?
They're saying it's 40 yards. We're going to talk about that. I don't. That's the only part I'm a little.
Just because you can't hit anything at 40 yards.
40 yards. Anyway, good for this guy. Long distance shots. 8 out of 10 hit the target. Nobody else was injured. Stopped this guy immediately so that he unfortunately harmed 3 people, killed 3 people, and he didn't kill anybody else because we had a sane, trained, law-abiding gun owner with a concealed firearm that he had for self-defense. And this guy, by all accounts, was amazingly calm, was amazingly accurate, was stepped right up to the plate and said, this is not going to happen while I'm here.
And he didn't have any trouble giving out his name. He gave it to the media. He wasn't trying to hide because he felt what he did, was truly right.
And law enforcement, Eli Dicken.
Right.
And law enforcement on the scene at the press conference called him a hero. He was described as a good Samaritan, which I think is kind of interesting.
And the mall is thinking about prosecuting because it was a gun-free.
Well,
I mean, they're just.
I haven't heard that, but it's not illegal in that state to carry.
Right.
So
it's one. I think it's just one log. I mean, just one opinion towards another.
It's like it would be in California. It's not. Those signs are meaningless in
Right,
California.
right,
So
exactly.
It doesn't matter.
it's simply a request.
But it just put the left back 20 feet.
Well, Shannon Watts from Moms Demand Action. I still think that's the most ridiculous name in the world. Moms Demand Action. It sounds like it sounds like an adult video series, Dave. Am I the only one that did anybody think this through? Anyway. So, I mean, when we picked our name, San Diego County Gun Owners, there's no guessing.
No video out of that one.
You can't make a video out of that. But Moms Demand Action. Anyway.
You got to go on a date.
So Shannon, maybe it was Shannon.
Yeah, maybe.
So Shannon Watts, she, spouted off on Twitter about how horrible the situation was that somebody was successfully able to defend themselves and described it as him having, illegally having this gun. And it's simply not true.
Right.
Not illegal. He did everything right. And I really, truly, this thing took off because there were 3 people killed in a public place at a mall. And boom, everybody reports on it. But then the fact that it was stopped, boom, within seconds, it's out of the news cycle.
Oh, it's out so fast.
Now, why didn't we have? The only people still talking about it are the hens on the old hens on The View,
right?
And they're giving false information that he was illegally carrying his gun. But we need to continue to talk about this guy.
I was going to bring it up if it wasn't in the outline because it's so important, and especially after hearing how many people whose lives have been saved, by another person having a firearm or the person that was either attacked having a firearm. And I agree with you, whether they shoot it or not.
Right.
Because I had a friend of mine go to a 7-Eleven. I would have never gone up against this guy. He's like 6'5", burly, had a big beard. And some guy followed him from the 7-Eleven back to his truck. And he gets in his truck, and the guy takes a knife and sticks it in the window. Says, "Give me all your money." And he pulls out a Smith & Wesson and puts it on the guy's forehead. He says, "How bad do you want it?" And the guy took off.
How was that, huh?
And he was very calm, cool, and collected about it. He says, "I probably wouldn't have shot him, but I figured the fear factor is what changed his mind."
There you go, 3 million and one.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Well, we're reaching out to him. We want to see if we can get him on the show and talk to him. And it is tough. Like, this might be this guy's worst day of his whole life.
Could be.
And I don't want to forget that.
Well, just think how he feels now. He took a life.
Well, exactly. And despite this person was committing a horrible, heinous act. But still, this could be this guy's worst day. So I'm happy that he was able to stop this carnage. He was able to help people. I'm happy that this guy was such a hero. But we're looking forward to talking to him, and I just hope that we don't.
You're actually going to get him?
We're trying to, but I just keep thinking to myself, geez, making this guy relive the worst day of his life. I don't know. Maybe he's fine.
Well, hopefully he'll look at it as we're talking about it. And the reason we're bringing him on is to educate the masses, and if he takes it that way,
right?
Then it's a win-win.
Which like I said, I'm looking forward to it. I just obviously want to be really, really sensitive to this guy. But
do I have to be?
I would like you to be sensitive to anything, Dave.
Anything
at all.
I'll try. I'll have to really try. All right. Hey,
but before we go to break, so we're going to talk about this. When we come back, I want to talk about the two extremely important points that we need to take away from this. There are two very important points we need to take away from this.
I totally agree.
I want to maybe look at it as, hey, Mike's going to give us some talking points, or maybe a way of talking about this.
Yeah, it's not a mic drop.
No, not at all.
Boy, if this isn't the truth. Do you have trouble fitting in workouts into your busy schedule? Well, you got to try Leo Fit, and so do I. Because Leo Fit is a super high-tech gym that delivers the benefits of 3 to 6 hours of traditional strength training in just 2 20-minute sessions a week. Yes, that sounds hard to believe, but because the machines are computer-controlled, they deliver the maximum weight you can safely handle by the second. That's how you get the highest possible return on your fitness investment. You'll also have a trainer with you, so you're not going to be doing this by yourself. Founded by Leo Hamill of the jewelry store fame, Leo Fit guarantees increased metabolism. You said metabolism. That's it. Strength and fitness in every session. You will not understand how effective it is until you try it. 20 minutes twice a week replace hours of weightlifting and aerobics. And according to Leo, you don't sweat.
Well,
no, he said you won't sweat.
I sweat a little bit.
Well, you sweat getting up. Sign up today at their website at leofitlabs.com or type LeoFit in your browser for more information and sign up for a free session.
You could go there in like work clothes and
that's what Leo says he does. He goes
could.
out of his office, goes in,
he does. You reasonably could do that. I don't want to but I sweat a little bit. I sweat
thinking about it.
Yeah, just
thinking about it.
Sometimes sweating makes me sweat. So
yeah,
I mean, I'll you could put me in a walk-in freezer and I'll figure out a way to sweat.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about the self-defense incident in Indiana that happened. Was that a week ago? 2 weeks ago?
What do you think? When was it?
Last week. All right.
Last week. Okay.
Now, what was your take on it? Since I blurted out my thought.
My take on what?
The whole experience.
I think it was a great thing that he did. And it was fortunate that he was there to do it, or a lot more people would have been killed. I thought it was outrageous that these leftists, that's not unexpected, it's just outrageous, jumped all over that and said, well, it's a bad thing because he shot the guy, and because they were, like Michael was saying, they were talking about the Good Samaritan thing. But I would talk about training. We'll talk about that a little bit later here, I think, about the training and, what he did. Michael said he was going to talk about that shot. So at that distance,
I just want to. Well, all right. Well, let's talk. I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
I'm going to make a prediction. I think that after everything's all fully investigated and it comes, I don't think it was a 40-yard shot.
And
you're just having such a problem with this 40-yard shot.
Well, that could very well be.
But still,
everybody says, "Oh God, that's so far," and it's not. Yeah, it is. But I mean, if I don't know anything about how this guy trains or shoots or what he does, but I mean, realistically, if you shoot a reasonable amount and you practice that, at longer distances, it's not too bad. I mean, I did it the other day just to see if I could do it.
And, and it's not a headshot.
No, and
it was body shots.
And again, and I wasn't under any pressure like he was. But it's not. I mean, if you're good with that stuff and you shoot and you practice, I mean, that's not that outrageous. And in a mall,
what was he shooting? What was he shooting?
I don't know. I didn't.
Unconfirmed reports. I don't even know if I should say this because they're unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed
reports. Yeah, really. Completely unconfirmed. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm hearing whispers that he was shooting a Springfield Hellcat in 9mm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Iron sights, right?
I don't know. That I don't know.
That's all
He's 22
confirmed.
though, so maybe. But I don't know. I just think they're going to come out and be like, it's actually 23 yards.
It could be, because that kind of stuff happens all the
That
time.
happens all the time. But that doesn't take anything away from what this
No.
guy did, and his ability to do it. Okay, so there's two things. Two things I want to make that you really, really have to emphasize when you tell this story. Number one, this really isn't rare. Because like we said, 1.5 million times to 3 million times a year, somebody uses a firearm as self-defense. So if someone does, try to say, well, that's your one example. No, that's not the one example. That's just the one that they decided to, that's the one that accidentally got into the headlines.
Right.
Because they were hoping it was going to go another way.
Yeah. That's the only reason.
And it's proof positive that, it went into the headlines and then, oh my gosh, a civilian, a 22-year-old civilian, no less, with no military and no law enforcement history, was able to do such a successful job of stopping this. Boom, immediately falls out of the headlines.
In
Right?
14 seconds.
Well, too, if it was only one victim there, say he got there a little bit sooner or something like that, you may not have heard about that at all. Because again, it would have been a local story, and because it didn't go the way that the media would prefer it to go, you may not have heard about it at all.
If you look at the timeline, there was it was reported that someone with a semi-auto, someone with an AR, shot at them all. 3 people dead. Mm-hmm. They covered it. It was all over the place. CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, everybody, all over the place. And then they did the press conference, and the chief of police said, "Yeah, a civilian stopped this. He's a hero." And they said, "Oh, we're done. See you later. Let's get on to Kim Kardashian, who got another piercing in her ear."
And she bought 2 jets, and she went 13 miles.
Yeah, whatever. So that's proof positive that they really, truly, Okay, so that's important. Number one is this is not an isolated incident. This isn't weird. This isn't the only time this has ever happened. It's just a very, very clear example, and one that just happened to make it to the headlines. That's number one. And number two is the fact that someone who isn't law enforcement and isn't military did such a great job. And this kid, he's 22. I mean, the anti-gun folks want to ban guns from people that are just a year younger than him, right? So, I mean, this flies in the face of everything that they say and supports everything that we've always said. And so it's not an isolated incident, and it's a perfect example of everything that we've been saying. We've never said that, hey, if everybody owns a gun, there will be no crime. We've never said that. What we have said is that if someone is there and able to respond, that there won't be 100 victims. They'll be able to stop it before it turns into a truly mass murder, which is really what happened here. I mean, depending on how you define a mass murder. Unfortunately, 3 people were killed. 4 people if you include the shooter. Or not the shooter. There were 2 shooters. There was a good guy and a bad guy. But this is truly a good guy with a gun stopping a bad guy with a gun. A young man, a civilian, a trained CCW holder, abiding by the law, following the law. Is such a perfect example. Those 2 things. When you talk about this, talk about those 2 things. That hey, this is just another example. This is an example of the 1.5 to 3 million times a year that someone defends against a horrible, heinous, violent crime. And 2, it's a perfect example of why people need to at least have the opportunity and choice to keep and bear arms.
So if I hope I'm not jumping ahead, but it said the first victim had a firearm and was not able to use it.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
That's our producer.
I don't know that. I haven't read that. I apologize.
Yeah, I did. I just happened to notice it, and I didn't hear anything about that as well.
But what people should learn is obviously, the self-defense part of it, and the public policy.
Right. And the emphasis on training.
We think so. Part of me, Joe, how I'm almost going to be disappointed if we do get an interview out of this guy and he's like, yeah, I don't know, I just bought it yesterday.
Oh, wouldn't that be terrible? 40 yards? Oh, yeah, I do that all the time. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, we do see people like that, though. I mean, we'll see them in class from time to time, and there are people
Natural
they're
talent.
just good like that. Yeah, I don't know if that's. Yeah, they're just. I don't
Well,
know.
I think I've told you the
Think
story
one of
about my wife. I took her out very first time, never shot a gun, never held a gun.
Mhm.
First, it was a Smith & Wesson 9mm, and she did it in about a 3-inch grouping, and then I gave her a shotgun, and it was a 4-inch grouping, and I gave her a revolver, same thing. Never shot a gun before in her life.
Mhm.
Wasn't scared, wasn't intimidated, just
Yeah, and I'd heard this guy had been shooting. I guess I'd heard his grandfather taught him or something.
Right.
So I'm guessing he'd been shooting, semi regularly at least since he
Yeah.
was a kid. But Bill just showed me a video the other day of two of his students, husband and wife, and I think it was the first time she was shooting, and she was doing great, knocking down plate
well,
racks.
don't
and
they
everything.
normally say the women are a lot easier to train than the guys?
Women listen. That's the difference.
Okay, all
guys-
complaints go to
guys know.
1-800-JOE, 1-800-JOE for all complaints.
Women are more likely to listen to what you say and then try it, as opposed to, guys. Like we'll get one of the things that are real common. You'll see sometimes you'll see men put their finger up around the front of the trigger guard, and apparently that used to be a big deal in the 80s. And it works good. I guess if you have if you got big hands and a small gun, it might work a little bit. But your hand is stronger with your fingers together on that thing. And I might suggest something like that, and a woman will most likely, and just put her hand where it's supposed to be,
where you
as
put it.
opposed to I've been shooting this way for a while, and I'm looking in the target, and the shots are like all over the place. Been shooting this way for a while, and it seems like, okay, good.
Yeah.
It's sometimes they're easier to teach.
But it's an amazing story. It needs to
It
be
is.
told. We need to
Yes.
focus
over
on
and
it.
over and over again.
I don't know what exactly is going on as far as, is this guy going to do interviews or what's going on there? But
I haven't seen him on. I mean, if he's going to be on anything, he'd be on, of course, the conservative stations like.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, because you're not going to see him on the usual circuit.
He
He's
won't
not
be
gonna
on The
on
View.
CNN and The View and all that.
Yeah, he won't be on the.
But he may be on Sean Hannity and those guys. But it'll
Right,
be
that's what I'm
interesting.
saying.
Yeah,
He'll be on with Waters or Tucker. I'm probably Tucker Carlson if it's
you would
anybody.
think, yeah.
this guy, one story is reporting that his girlfriend said that he pushed her to safety before he started shooting. This guy's like
Yeah, I think I read
He's
that.
a hero.
this guy's he's never going to buy a drink in that town ever again.
Yeah, and I guarantee you he went 40 yards.
And then, like the New York Times put out a story after Indiana Mall shooting, one hero, but no lasting solution. Why is that not a lasting solution?
No last.
Why is that not a lasting? I think it's a growing solution. More and more people.
Yeah.
We're headed towards 7,000 people in San Diego. When we started off, there was 1,000
Right.
that had CCWs. I'd say it's absolutely a lasting
And if I
solution.
was a criminal, I'd be nervous with that number.
They should. They've done, the FBI did a series of interviews of folks in jail. I think it was the FBI. This might have been FSU as well. But there was a survey done of people in jails. And you know what their number one fear is? Their number one fear as a professional criminal? An armed victim.
Sure.
But by far. Not dogs, not going to jail,
Not even cops.
not hurting someone, not cops, an armed victim.
Yeah, I think the reasoning was a little weird, but yeah, I think I've seen that too.
Well,
But I won't reveal the reasoning to you. But
What do you mean?
they said
Yeah.
they were afraid. They're more afraid of armed citizens than they are police, because the comment was that the armed citizen isn't as trained and disciplined and might shoot them, whereas the cop is less likely to shoot them, which is a good indication why they're in prison.
that is absolutely.
Joe, people have been asking about the Powertac M5 Tactical Light. So did you like it? How bright is it?
Well, just give me a moment and I'll enlighten you.
Alrighty now. Did you ever wish cleaning your gun was easier? Well, clean, lube, and protect your gun with Seal 1. Seal 1 CLP Plus is natural, non-toxic, and environmentally friendly. Clean your guns easier and faster. You'll also smell better, too. Something the wives will appreciate. One and done with Seal 1. Ask for it by name at your local gun shop or get some on their website, seal1.com. That's seal, the number 1.com.
By the way, guys, that joke made me feel lightheaded over here. There you go.
Oh,
Oh, come on. That was better than a lighten.
I don't
Come
get
on.
it. I don't understand.
Never
He
mind.
doesn't get it. All right, dead quiet.
Oh, you're
Not
going to ask me
working.
something? Usually you ask me something.
I don't ask. Okay, enlighten
Like,
us.
Joe, what do you got?
Enlighten us. How's that?
Okay, Dave, what I've got
What have you got,
is
sir?
a cool little product. I say finally a cool little product that I could finally show. Actually, so what I have is a nice little. Well, I don't know if it's. Yeah, I guess you could say it's a tactical flashlight. It's a nice little flashlight from Powertac, which is a pretty cool company. It's their M5G2 flashlight, and this is a really nice thing. There's a lot of different things you can do with this guy, but it's a good size. If you look at this. It's a little bit smaller, actually, slightly smaller than one of the big tactical ones out there from Olight. The Striker, I think, was the one that everybody's buying for a while, which is a tactical light. And this is a little bit smaller than than that one, but it's a really just nice light. The company is Powertac, and they're out of Raleigh, North Carolina, so it's an American-made thing. And they were founded in 2006, I guess, where they came from. And they do all sorts of flashlights. They do headlamps. They do some other lighting things. So they have a pretty good lineup of products. But this one here is their M5. And if you take a look at it, it's a nice size, actually. It's not really too big for an everyday carry. They say you can do it that way. You could use it as an everyday carry thing, which is perfectly reasonable. Or lots of other uses. I mean, this would work for backpacking, for really anything you want to do with it.
Throw it in the glove box.
And actually, it's because this one I'm going to be using this. I may adjust my everyday carry because I carry one that's a little bit smaller, but it's not nearly as functional, say, as this would be. Because one of the things that we talk about with everyday carry, if you needed a light in low light conditions, if you needed a flashlight to see something. Some people talk about weapon-mounted lights, which is okay, but it's more of a police or a law enforcement thing because they, for one, have to do that kind of stuff. They have to follow people down in the dark alleys and things like that. We generally don't have to do that. But the downside of a weapon-mounted light is if you need to light up something, you've got to point the gun at it. So a lot of times people will carry an additional flashlight. And something this size is nice because if you've got the gun like this, there's different ways you can hold it. But you can hold this pretty much like that, which is one of the common ways you can hold this light up against your jawline. The smaller light, like the one that I typically carry every day, is about half this size. And it lights up pretty well, but it'd be really difficult to manipulate with a gun. So this one would work really well that way. This has got 5 different settings on it. And you can see it here. It's got a switch on the back, which is real handy operation-wise. And what you can do is you could just depress it like that before it clicks, which is handy, again, if you're using it with a firearm like that. You don't want to necessarily leave the thing on, so you could turn it on, click it off like that pretty easily, or you can push the button all the way down and it stays on. It's got another button off to the side here, which gives you 5 different kinds of light. So this brightest one, whoops, that was the brightest one. It starts with this really low light one. So this is really good for lighting up at night where you don't necessarily want to have people see where you're at. So it's got this level, and then it's got 5 more progressively brighter levels. This bright, I think it's the brightest one, right? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. There you go. So the brightest one, I should stop there. This is 2,000 lumens, 2,030 lumens. It'll run for about, they say 2.6 hours, I guess, at this brightness. It goes out about 300, they say 330 meters. I could light the back because I live up against the hills, and I could light the entire hill back behind my house up with this thing. It also has a strobe function, which if I hold this down, and it'll strobe at whatever power you happen to be on. So at the highest power, if I hold that down, I've got a strobe light, and then I can just turn the strobe back off. So it's got that functionality to it as well. It's got a works on a single lithium-ion battery, which is in here. If I unscrew the back,
Which is fairly simple to do.
fairly simple. So I can pull the back off, and you got a single lithium-ion rechargeable battery that it runs off of.
Does a recharger come with it?
Yeah, actually, it's a pretty cool recharger that they have too. So if you take a look here, let's see, pop this box out. what it comes with is comes with the recharger, and the recharger's got a you see here a wire, and there's a USB plug on the end of it. So like you could stick a little brick on here and plug it into the wall, or you could just plug it into a charging port on a computer. It's the magnetic charger is here, so it just pops right on like that.
You can actually plug that into your center console on your car.
You can, yes, absolutely. And when it's charging, this will light up as a red color. I didn't think to bring a place to plug it anyway. But the button here will light up red when it's charging. When it's fully charged, it turns blue, so it's a good indicator. It charged pretty quickly. I didn't think to time it, but it was pretty quickly, or it was pretty quick when it charged.
Hours?
I ran it down. Yes. Yeah, small hours, not that long at all.
Like 2-3 hours.
Something like that, yeah. And so that part of it works pretty well. It comes with a lanyard if you want to use that. The other thing it comes with, let's see, down here, is it comes with a spare O-ring. And then it comes with a 2 size of keychain. So if you wanted to hook the lanyard to a ring or something like that. The other thing, what else I want to say about this? There's a clip on here for a pocket, and that's removable, so you can pop that off. Let's see. There we go. So you can pop the clip off if you don't want the clip on there, or pop it back on. So that's pretty handy. It's waterproof down to 2 meters, so this should be good out in the rain or things like that. Really good, good light too. It's completely reasonable too. This the MSRP on this is $69.95. Which is not bad for this quality of light. I mean, this is a really nice
and all the accessories you got with it.
light. Well, yeah, and you get that stuff, and it's pretty solid. If you feel it, it's the housing on here is knurled, so it's easier to hang on to. The waterproof part is fine. There's a lifetime warranty on it through the company.
Wow.
It's interesting, and I don't know the reason for this, but for some reason, if you're in Europe and you're a customer, the warranty is only 10 years. I'm guessing it has something to do with laws over there or something
Probably.
like that. But for us over here, this is a lifetime warranty. There is a discount code because I know you're always concerned with that, and I actually found it this time. Rich sent it to me. But the discount code is PRO2ACA.
So
that'll get you 15%.
Rich got each one of us one.
I hope so. I'm really impressed with this. Hopefully, Rich will get us some more stuff from this company, from Powertac, because
But you don't get any more.
I was looking through there. No, but I'll talk about them. They're fun to talk about,
We'll see.
But yeah, those are they're really nice. And I was looking.
Well, it's
at
nice. It's a nice
website.
weight too.
Oh, it's a solid. Yeah, it's a really solid product. And like I said, it's a good size. I may adjust my if I lose a few more pounds, these pants get a little bit looser. I may revamp my my everyday carry, and I think I may switch to this.
Go to Leo Fit.
This is really nice. Yeah, I should do that because you don't sweat.
No, you don't sweat.
No, it's perfect. So let's see what else I want to talk about with this thing. I feel like I'm missing something.
So what about the bulb?
LED lights.
Okay.
So and again, like I said, it's hard to see in here because it's not.
We can turn the lights
it's
off.
all lit here. Whoops. That's the other thing. If you go to the strobe, it comes back the way you left it. There you go. So, but you can see this thing is pretty light. That's 2,000 lumens on this thing. And again, it's harder to see in here. If I go in my backyard at night, because we're up against the hills and it's just pitch black, I could light that whole mountain all the way up, easily 300 yards. I believe everything they say about that.
Why is Rich laughing?
But it's an
He's
entertainment.
making fun. I'm like, I think you just took care of my cataracts.
Yeah, I noticed your eyes.
Yeah, I was trying not to go that far, but it's
You couldn't help
wide.
yourself.
Hey, 40 yards is 40 yards.
But yeah, these things are handy. Do you guys carry? Do you carry light, Michael?
I can't. I don't carry one like on. Yes, I have one in my man purse. I think I have a couple in my man purse.
Because I got in the habit.
Little tiny ones.
I get in the habit of doing that. Yeah, and I carry.
I don't like the little
a smaller
tiny
one
ones.
now. But
I like the size of that one.
oh, you know what?
Well, I can't believe you said that's 2,000 lumens.
yeah, and
that's
see
amazing.
Notice this light is on here because I was looking for a bad thing to say about this, and I can't really. There's really no bad stuff, but notice this light is on now, so it would be easy to, if you could see that down there.
Accidentally leave it on.
That's the lowest power.
Wow.
Did you
So
turn it off?
The light I carry is not much smaller than that, and it is not 2,000 lumens. So that's amazing.
The rear switch in the back will turn it off.
Oh yeah, it's solid.
Now you're an owner.
Yeah, and if you ever did, have a need to have a light with your firearm out, I mean, that one works perfectly. It's just the perfect size.
That's amazing.
But I like the way it feels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this yours, Joe?
If it's in the hand, I hope so.
There you go.
Well,
You got the boxes last week.
No, Rich got us all one. They're in the
fact?
car.
I want to put it through its paces.
But I think we should get more of these things.
I think
they just have
whoever
some great products there.
whoever that Rich guy.
So that's Powertac is the company. So check them out.
POW.
ERTAC.
All right, and we ought to get them to come on and tell us about their product line. Not that you didn't do a really good job.
No, I talked to the producer, see what you can get.
Yeah, I don't know about that producer guy. You didn't give us each one. We're gonna have to give it back to Mike. Hey, a lot of companies are frustrated with their website. It looks old, it's out of date, and it's getting no customers. Well, guess what? Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies with websites that look great, work great, and get leads. Stop being frustrated by your website and get one that you're proud to share. Contact Sage Tree today to get a website that makes the phone ring. Getting started is easy. Just call 866-728-9100. That's 866-728-9100. Let them fix your website today.
You guys want to hear something ridiculous?
Sure.
Okay, so this is an article not in Joe Bob's, community rag. This is actually businessinsider.com. Businessinsider.com. And the reporter is not on me to I'm certainly not I'm definitely going to make fun of what she wrote. I'm not making fun of her name. I'm not trying to mispronounce it, but I think it's Aliyah Shoaib, Shoaib. New assault rifle being sold to civilians is twice as powerful as the AR-15 and capable of shooting through bulletproof vests, report says. A gun company is marketing an assault rifle that can shoot through bulletproof vests to civilians, a report says, amid ongoing debates about gun control following a string of deadly mass shootings. This is a reporter. This isn't an op-ed. This person isn't like making a point or whatever, giving their opinion. This person's just reporting. So it's marketing an assault rifle that can shoot through bulletproof vests. I mean, any gun can shoot through a bulletproof vest. I'm not going to tell you the gun yet. I'm going to make you guys guess.
Save that for Sam.
Great. So here's the big quote. Quote, it'll shoot through almost all of the bulletproof vests worn by law enforcement in the country right now. Ryan Boozy, a former firearms company executive, now a senior policy analyst with the Giffords Law Center.
So things went badly for Ryan at his last company. Huh?
Who this guy is? He's a former firearms company executive?
So how do you go from that to an anti-gun group? Unless things went badly for you at your last company.
I know. We should Google this guy.
We used to say they moved on to pursue other opportunities. Isn't that how it goes?
He failed forward is what he did.
That's
Ryan Bussey, RyanBusse. We'll have to look that guy up. The gun fires bullets with twice the kinetic energy of those from an AR-15 and has a longer range. It has a noise suppressor that can make a gunman harder to locate, the outlet reported.
Has she discovered the word caliber yet in there?
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is, let me keep going. Making the gun commercially available raises questions about the possible outcomes if it were to get into the hands of a mass shooter. Because, if a mass shooter has it's ridiculous. This whole thing is so asinine.
Is it like monkeypox?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, monkeypox is on the verge of killing everybody now.
Well, it's true.
You gotta wait till November.
Policy analyst, the same guy, policy analyst Boosie, told the outlet that while AR-15s are lighter and more maneuverable, this new gun, the bullets from the latter can hit much harder over great distances. These new bullets that this new gun hits much harder.
You better tell Joe the name because he's going to go buy one.
Boosie said the gun can help. This is what this guy says. Boosie, this guy, said the gun could help mass shooters become, quote, a long-range sniper with an AR-15 style gun.
Wow, he's helpful.
Let's see. It says that the company that made it also made the AR-15 that was used in the Orlando nightclub shooting, which of course means that they don't care at all, right? They hate people and puppies. And
Right.
what they'll do if you have an ice cream cone is they will slap the ice cream right out of the cone. They're that kind of company.
Mm-hmm.
In the press release, Ron Cohen, president of, I already gave it away. It's a rare opportunity for passionate customers to own a piece of history. They also describe earlier in the article, they say that it's the civilian equivalent of the U.S. Army's NGSW-R, Next Generation Squad Rifle, specifically created to tear through body armor. And what they're of course, talking about SIG, and the exact one they're talking about is Sig Sauer's MCX Spear, which is basically the MCX.
Is it on the roster?
It's a rifle, but if anybody knows anything, it's basically an AR. It's basically an AR. Now, I'm not sure what caliber they're even talking about. When I looked up the Spear, it's only available on 5.56 and 300 blackout.
Yeah.
So I think
the special bullets.
I know it's some kind of special magical bullet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they're talking about what's the new 6.8 Creedmoor, right? Or 6.5, 6.8, 6.5 Creedmoor.
No, there's not, because there's several 6.5s. But yeah, I thought I did see
6.8 Creedmoor. So maybe they're talking about
that, yeah.
But they're not talking. I mean, this is ridiculous. An AR. I've seen an AR in 300 Win Mag. Like, this is what happens when you have a reporter reporting on something they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about, and they're only doing it because they have a political bias.
And they did no research.
They did no research.
Well, and it's interesting because you see a lot of that kind of stuff. I mean, to us, it's real glaring with Second Amendment stuff or gun stuff, but you see that all over. And I wonder, are they just? I mean, are reporters just not trained well now when they go? Do they get journalism degrees anymore?
They're not reporters.
But I mean, they're writing in these publications like this, and seriously, that kind of thing. Do they not train them the same way? Because I mean, the schools are in bad shape, I guess, and I don't know. Do they tell them now it's their job to write their opinions and to push whatever the agenda is, as opposed to just writing?
And
the
what
story?
about the editor? Aren't they supposed to critique it?
And I have seen that. Yeah, they don't seem to have editors, or if you have I don't want to get in trouble there. I was going to say you got a 23-year-old reporter and a 28-year-old editor. I don't know if that's good. Well, I did see somebody that was serious about that. They were saying in years past, the editors were very senior people. They were people that had been in the industry for a long time. They had a lot of experience writing themselves and reporting. So when they went through and did those checks and looked at the stuff that was going to be printed, they had some good input. Whereas now it seems like we may have lost a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But that's it. Is there any mention of caliber in that?
No,
Michael, because
the whole article, they don't talk about caliber one time.
They don't know what it is.
So I'm not even, like I said, I've seen ARs in 300 Win Mag. An AR-10 is 308. It's a 300 blackout. There's 5.56. There's ARs coming. They don't understand. They just don't get it. And I think the problem is they don't want to get it. And I think that the shift or change or, basically leaving behind etiquette, and ethics when it comes to reporting it's like it's turned into a virtuous thing. Like, well, look, we need to use our power as reporters to make the world a better place.
And I don't think they want to be correct, because the people that are gun owners like us, we're sitting there going, what are you, crazy? But the people that know nothing about guns, they'll take that story to the bank.
Well, it's interesting too. You said it was from Business Insider magazine,
right?
Does she ever get to the business aspect of this, or
No.
is it just a gun rant or
That's
anti-gun
it.
rant?
That's all it is. It's just an anti-gun rant. Truly, that's all it is. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's not that. It's not uncommon.
What would be nice is if we could, we should get a reporter. We know a bunch of reporters. We should get like an old school reporter. Now that I call them old school, they're going to get mad.
They're not going to come.
But we should get a reporter to come on and explain why, from an ethical perspective, why this is bad. Not even touch the gun part of it.
I would love to hear a reporter's opinion on that. Why it seems so different now? Because I see a lot of that kind of stuff.
Let's get a journalism teacher.
That might explain it. That might be the quickest way to the answer.
Or just an old school copy editor.
Yeah,
we need a copy editor who's over 50. That's all we need. Maybe what we should get is Steve from KUSI.
Steve Cohen.
Yeah, that dude's as old school as they come.
Oh, yeah. That would be an interesting
Anyway,
interview.
we got to go.
So, a decorated Secret Service agent, mental health counselor, and proud wife and mother, Melanie Burkholder, is a proven leader, and a distinguished member of the Carlsbad community. So, we're about to talk to her about her campaign for city council.
But first, did you know we have a world-class training school here in San Diego? Pilots can fly almost every single day. We're close to the ocean, the desert, the mountains, international border, and a major military base. That's why San Diego is one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly in sunny of San Diego, right at Montgomery Field. Getting started is real easy. Just call them at 858-569-1822. That's 858-569-1822. Or just go to Learn to Fly with SDFTI. Again, 858-569-1822.
Every 2 years, San Diego County gun owners vets candidates for local boards and councils, and for the primary election and the general election, and we endorse those who are pro-Second Amendment, first and foremost. Our viable candidates have impeccable character and integrity and are effective. And one of those people that we endorsed is running for Carlsbad City Council, Dr. Melanie Burkholder. How are you?
Hey, Michael, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, and thanks for having me. How are you?
Fantastic. Could not be better. So what made you run for City Council?
Well, as you alluded to in the intro there, I'm a wife and a mom. My kids are in public school here in Carlsbad. I own a business and a home, and I see every day that we are having attacks on all of those fronts, to the point where I feel like I have to put on the full armor of God and go out and fight the battle. And those things are important to me and the constituents here in District 1 in Carlsbad, namely small businesses that I advocated for to stay open during the unlawful Gavin Newsom shutdown of our small businesses. And I was one of those ladies on the street waving the sign saying, keep the business open, support these businesses that are open, and, with schools, too. I'm a mental health
I really think,
and,
Melanie, if I could interrupt,
go ahead.
I think that needs to be a litmus test, and particularly for Republican voters this time around, and maybe for the next few cycles. Where did you stand on all these businesses closing down? Because the Republican Party didn't do anything. The Republican leaders did almost nothing. It's frankly embarrassing. I mean, for years, I was told that Democrats want to come and take all your freedom and rights, and that the Republicans were going to stand in their way. And then Democrats came and tried to take all my freedom and rights, and Republicans, folded like a cheap suit. And I really, truly think that should be an enormous litmus test. There are a lot of people running, like Amy Burkholder, Amy Reichart, and then there are a lot of people that are running, because of what happened during during COVID. But that's certainly not exclusively why you're running, but it's a big part, and I appreciate that. But that should absolutely be a litmus test.
Yeah, and I appreciate those comments, Michael. For me, it was about, I'm a mental health therapist, and I think the schools closed down on Friday, March 13th, and I was on the news the following Monday or Tuesday saying, this is a horrible idea for children. We're taking away their social emotional learning. They're going to be shut down in computers and on computers, and then you think about the disparity, the huge disparity between those that have and those that have not connectivity and things like that, and we dummied down the children. So, for example, I have 14 and 13-year-old boys. My 14-year-old is going to be a freshman at Carlsbad High School, go Lancers, and his last completely normal school year was in the 5th grade. Let that sink in for the listeners. Like, really, his normal school year was in 5th grade. So,
well, and you
whether it
actually did
was-
something though, Melanie. You actually went out there and had a voice and did something. So when you do vet out candidates, you know, that you're going to vote for, don't just let them say, "Oh yeah, we should have done that. I was against it." What did you actually do? Because here's a candidate that actually did something. You know, so don't let them.
I formed the Carlsbad Families for Reopening Schools formed, and we sued the state of California to get schools back open, and we actually won because it was unconstitutional what they did to our children and the learning loss. And believe me, at 41 or 44 out of the 50 states where we lie in education, and Gavin Newsom is trying to take credit for being this education triumph. It's a joke. It's a complete joke of actually what happened to our children. Now, granted, my children were fine during that time, but again, I go back to the idea that it creates this huge gap between those that have and those that have not. Think of it this way, Michael. If you have children that are at home being abused by their abuser, or if you have children at home that have food insecurity, of which we have about 7 in 10 children here in North County, believe it or not, are food insecure, they're even more exposed to their abuser and their instability in food during that time. The school, the Title IX, that provides that gap that sometimes parents can't provide. And it was wrong then, and it's wrong now. It'll be wrong in the future. If they even decide that they're going to bring masking back to children, I am a mask proponent. If you want to wear a mask, go ahead and wear a mask. But if you don't need to do that, don't debilitate your child's learning because they're not wearing a mask. So, I mean, there are a number of things facing Carlsbad. That's more of a school issue where I think we can work together to do the greater good in Carlsbad. But, you know, we have homelessness in Carlsbad. I mean, if I were homeless, why wouldn't I want to be homeless in Carlsbad, right? Like, this is a beautiful place. We have 7 miles of coastline here to support and to help people. But what the current plan is for the government, the federal government doesn't provide funding, which is why I so appreciated your previous commercial about sdrescue.org that does not take government funding, because government Democrats in California want to keep you in a cycle of homelessness. They want to keep you in that cycle of unhealthiness. And it's not humane. We treat our animals better than we treat people and individuals that are on the street.
Well, in all fairness, there's a lot of animals I like more than people. So. But anyway, so let's talk about guns, though. I just looked down at the paperwork they handed me, and this happens to be a gun radio show. I didn't know that until now. So let's talk about guns. Now you've been a CCW. I hope I'm not. But you've been a CCW holder for you talk about that, right? You've been a CCW holder for a long time, right?
Yeah. And I actually just recently did my requal for the whole process. But you know, initially when I did it here in California, I mean, in Idaho, I went to the DMV, which was a little room the size of my tiny little home office, where you showed your driver's license and you could get a CCW, fine, okay, good, you're good. You didn't have to show why you needed it or whatever, but the most ridiculous thing for me as a woman was that I had to show that I was essentially not the first line of defense for my family to get a CCW, which is insanity. I mean, that is insanity on so many different levels. Even anyone should be outraged by that. And,
which you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do a good cause. Everybody listening, I want to make sure everybody knows you don't have to do good cause anymore. If you can pass the background check, take the training class, then put in your application and get your CCW.
Right, and I'm so happy about that. But it was initially when I
that's good. That's good feedback. Why are you happy? Is it a better place? Is the world a better place if people can legally carry concealed?
100%. And actually, I think that in California, what we're doing is creating the world not being a better place, because we're requiring all of these things, like, for example, the 10-day waiting period that you've applied, you've gotten all the background checks done, and now you have a 10-day waiting period. You know what, Michael? Bad guys are not waiting 10 days. They're going to go out and do what they need to do. So, for example, think of it as someone who has a domestic violence charge and they have a restraining order against their spouse or significant other. That person is not waiting 10 days while you as a law-abiding citizen is doing that to get your protection, your first line of defense for your family, if you will, that person is not doing that. So what we have here, and at a city level, it's not going to be impactful. The way it's going to be impactful here is that we allow cops to do their job. As a former Secret Service agent, I can speak to that to some extent. We have to be allowed to carry out the laws that are on the books. And when you have Proposition 47 and Proposition 57, which decriminalize criminal behavior and tie the hands of law enforcement, we do not have that. And so one thing that I think is super important is that I continue to work with the legislators in Sacramento to actually say, this is disaffecting people and it's impacting people in a negative way. And if you actually care about the people in California, and I do care deeply about the people in Carlsbad, then we work together to make sure that our society is functioning at a higher level, not a lower level, not dumbing down people, but actually functioning at a higher level. And that's what I want to do.
All right. Awesome. Well, where do people find you? If they want to help you out, where do they find you?
Well, you can email me at Burkholder at forcarlsbad.com. You can find me on Instagram at mgburkholder, G as in Gail, my middle name. And, you can call me, 760-828-8420. My phone number is printed on every piece of material that I have because I believe that here in Carlsbad, it is a community, it is a village, and that is where I am running, in the village of Carlsbad. And people should be able to call me, good, better, and different. My 7th grade math teacher used to say, do you have any questions, comments, or angry exhortations? And I take that to heart, and I appreciate everybody that calls me and texts me and emails me and says, this is what's going on.
Keep it clean, everybody. Keep it clean. So that's amazing that you give out your cell phone number. I really appreciate that. You're also, we're going to keep you over to the next segment. We're going to keep talking to you, but you're going to talk at one of the San Diego County Gun Owners monthly meetings, right? In fact, let's hold off until after the break, and let's talk about that first.
PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Hey, if you're looking to buy or refi, or if you're just considering a reverse mortgage, call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. They make it easy. You can work with a friendly expert team that will help you get the best deal on a mortgage. Call Chris Wiley, 619-722-1303, or just go to his website, primeres.com/Alpine.
We're talking to Carlsbad City Council candidate, Dr. Melanie Burkholder, about her campaign for City Council. I was just in Carlsbad a couple weeks ago. I had a bunch of meetings, and they wrapped up in Carlsbad. It was on a Friday. And I kind of looked around. It was about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I kind of looked around. I was like, I guess my day's done, and I'm in Carlsbad. So went towards the 5 to head home, and went right over the 5 and went straight to the beach and pulled over and watched the sunset. Yep. And it was a huge party. There were like couples and people and everything. Shh. It was awesome.
No, we don't want anybody to know that.
It was the best. It was so nice. There were people down on the beach. There were people in the water. There were people on blah, 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 blah. It was this huge party. People just had this huge party. So we're having Melanie on to see what's the city council going to do to support more partying on the beach. I think as well. No, I'm kidding. It's a beautiful town. It's worth fighting for. What's your number one priority other than guns and COVID? What would you really like to see the city do better?
Well, we have to streamline building and development with what Sacramento mandates here in Carlsbad and in the village. As you might suspect, there are homes like my home that was built in 56 or something like somewhere around maybe 54. And, we have to help people along in their redevelopment, infill, and new development. And while it is a heartache for a lot of us here, we don't want the village to change as much as, something where we reflect another beach city in San Diego. We do want to support these developers and how they come into Carlsbad and invest their money. And that is in 17 different impact fees that they have here that they pay, whether it's putting on-site inclusionary housing or off-site inclusionary housing, or how the project actually looks at the end of the day. And those are things that are on the minds of my constituents here in the village, because we don't want it to look like it's not Carlsbad Village.
It is tough to balance.
Challenge.
How do you? How do you balance that? You have the folks that are like, "Hey, I moved into Carlsbad. It looked this way." And this isn't unique to Carlsbad. It's everywhere. You got people that say, "Hey, I don't want this thing to turn into Manhattan." But on the other hand, the people that are buying land, they have the right to do whatever they want on their land for the most part. So how do you balance that?
And until SB 9 and 10 hit, they used to. But I will say this: zoning laws have been relaxed in the state of California because of the housing crisis and because of the homelessness issue, and I do understand that. But I will say I was knocking on doors and knocked on this beautiful, wonderful lady's door, and she was complaining about building and development. And I said, "Well, when did you buy your home?" And she said to me, 2012. And I said, "Well, I guess it's a good thing that the gates weren't closed then, that you could still buy your home here and be in this beautiful place." And it's kind of, here's the analogy. So people here in Carlsbad, we have 70 degrees and sunshine most every day. Again, almost 7 miles of coastline to enjoy at the beach. And I think people are genuinely concerned with raising their families, making sure they're educated, making sure they get in the colleges that they need, and making sure they can provide for their families. And when we have people that have their heads so far stuck in the sand that they don't really get it to understand that, well, first of all, it's not Carlsbad that's saying, "Hey, let's build and develop this." It's Sacramento. How many times has anyone come to Carlsbad from Sacramento? Not very many. And when they come, it's like a vacation because we're a vacation destiny, right?
What about? Let me ask you. What about the power plant? What's going on with that? Is that even city related, or is that state run, or how does that work?
Yeah, no, that's SDG&E. It's decommissioned, and it's already flattened right on the coastline, so you don't see any of that. But
I didn't know that. Those two big domes.
No, you're thinking of San Onofre.
Oh yeah. I guess I am. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. San Onofre is still up and running, but if we could only truck nuclear waste out of this, city or that city to get it across to Arizona, that'd be great, but there's no safe way to do that at this point. So that's a topic for a different legislator.
I got you.
Well, didn't you have a water purification plant in Carlsbad?
So we do. We have a desalination plant here, and it's a world-class desalination plant here, and it's providing millions of gallons of water every day. And I was disheartened when I read that Huntington did not decide to do the same thing. It doesn't make any sense. We have an ocean here, and why aren't we taking advantage of that? And why aren't we utilizing that to help people? Again, these are policies that have been imposed by Democrats primarily, because we've been led by Democrats for 40 plus years, and nothing has worked on their books. Nothing has worked. You cannot pencil out this and make it work for Californians.
Well, Melanie, here's what everybody's complaining that we're in drought. Don't water your lawn. And here's a little town in Carlsbad that's making desalination work. Why isn't that in the media? Why hasn't Sacramento came down and said, let's look at your program and copy it?
Well, I don't think it fits for their narrative, right? It doesn't fit for the global warming narrative. It doesn't fit for the climate change narrative. It doesn't fit for their narrative that we're going to upset environmental species. And I'm happy to say that one of the things that I've done here in Carlsbad was lead an effort to not use glyphosate in the city of Carlsbad initially.
That use what?
Glyphosate, Roundup.
Oh.
Roundup. Initially, it was but on our fields and schoolyards. And the city of Carlsbad in 2017 decided 5-1 after our efforts to do non-toxic Carlsbad that we actually don't have to spray glyphosate here in Carlsbad. We can use non-toxic alternatives. And it's on the Prop 65 list of carcinogens that cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it wasn't like we were making something up, but we worked together in a bipartisan effort to get something passed through the city council 5-0 vote. And now we don't do that because you know what? A bunch of moms said, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense for our children, our watersheds, and the dogs and everything else playing on in our parks and fields. It didn't make any sense. So
what percentage?
No cost,
let me ask you, what percentage of how much of Carlsbad's water is provided by the desal plant?
It's millions of gallons. I think it's 60 million gallons per day.
Wow.
So I don't know and it's not just here in Carlsbad. We provide it for other locations. So
Oh wow.
specifically for here in Carlsbad, I don't know exactly the percentage, but
It's probably more than 100% then. If you guys are selling it to other places, then it's providing water for Carlsbad and other. I'm assuming
there is no negative impact to doing the desal plant here.
That's kind of cool.
And there's no negative
Well,
impact
just
or
one.
anything
Just
else.
one. It doesn't fit the left's narrative.
Correct.
That's the only one that there's a problem with the whole thing. Makes me crazy.
And you know, it's sad. City council is a nonpartisan seat. It's sad that we go to partisan things when I have things like stop tax increases, keep our community safe, support economic growth, and reduce homelessness as platform issues, that it goes back to partisan politics. It's not about that. It's about people. It's not about politics.
So what do you mainly? So you're a candidate. You're running for city council. Carlsbad's like what, 110,000 people, something like that.
Yeah, 112.
112,000. I was off. It was way up.
Yeah, you just can't get it right.
You're running in a district that's about a quarter of that. What do you need?
Right.
If I'm listening to the radio show, like what's the number one or top two things you absolutely need in order to get elected?
Well, number one is funding. I believe this race is going to be about a $60,000 race. We're halfway or so there at this point, and donations at $900 maximum per person is what we take. We take PAC and corporate donations as well, and that's what you need to contact the voter. This race is unique at this point in time. Our filing date is not ending until August 12th. So at this current point in time, we have 3 people on the other side of the aisle and me on the Republican side of the aisle. And, if you think about it in big picture terms, what we're trying to do, like I said, stop the tax increases, and that has to do with Sandag. We need a strong voice on Sandag that will say no when voters pass a measure to increase and improve the 76-78 corridor, and it didn't happen because someone came into Sandag and said, no, actually, we don't want to do that. We want to push you out of your vehicle and into electric vehicles or into mass transit. They're missing the mark here in Carlsbad. We have kids that are in sports, athletics, and we go to Costco. We can't do that in a bus or
a tram.
transit. We don't.
No
Yeah,
Costco visits on a tram.
We don't have that luxury, right? So,
You know what my favorite part of Carlsbad is, though?
Tell me.
The caverns.
Oh, they're beautiful. But be careful because they will slip off into the ocean because Democrats have managed retreat as their theme for helping in that. And so we have to be sure that we understand there was a Carlsbad family actually killed because of that, because they were exploring in the caverns and all of these beautiful places we have, but they can be very dangerous. So I warn everyone, do not go into those cliffs or caverns because it can be detrimental at the end of the day. And that is something that I hope the state Senate and the state legislature takes up for Carlsbad. But, Encinitas has it. We have that. You're going to have that. And then we have, in Carlsbad, we actually have land owned by the state and by us and by the feds and along the coastline. And so we have to always sort of grapple with what can we do? Just because people want a park doesn't mean we can afford a park in those places. And right now, actually, Michael, we're deficit spending in Carlsbad. The budget doesn't show it, but that's the reality of the situation. They finagle the numbers to make sure the public is copacetic with it, but at the end of the day, looking 5 years down the road, we're in bad shape.
Well, you know what? I don't care about the caverns. I'm going to Denny's. I'm going to Denny's. Right?
Not until
Great
I bring back
view.
spaghetti.
Great view, awesome
Well,
food.
Denny's isn't here anymore.
What? They're not there anymore?
Denny's isn't here. No.
Oh my God! Now you just ruined my day. But that's all right. Hey, how do people help you again? Website?
Melanie for Carlsbad.com. And, reach out to me, 760-828-8420.
Hey, do you feel safe? Are you protected? Well, it's time to take ownership of your self-defense journey. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association believes the key ingredient to being a responsible firearms owner is proper training and education. The USCCA offers comprehensive training that helps you avoid danger while keeping you and your loved ones safe. More than 650,000 responsibly armed Americans like you have made the responsible decision to take control of protecting themselves and their families. Get hands-on training from a certified instructor. Learn how to avoid danger, defend yourself, and protect your loved ones. Take responsibility for your own safety and visit uscc.com/GOR.
All right, it's time for everybody's favorite segment. By the way, I don't think she got my reference to the Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico.
I don't
that
think
Carlsbad,
so.
I don't think that was it. But I guess they do have caverns.
Well, now you
I
know.
didn't know they
she-
had caverns.
Yeah.
I know they have cliffs that fall on people.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
well,
what she was talking about.
Yeah, I think there was a little.
She was trying to be nice to you.
I think she was.
Michael doesn't know.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever happened to the Baldwin story?
Nothing. No big.
Gone. Nothing.
Yeah,
That's
nothing.
right.
No big development.
Just a dead person.
Yeah, I don't think. I think there's it's just a dead person. I think there's going to be a big civil case, but I just don't know if that should. I don't know. I'm going to say this, and everybody's going to jump all over me, but I don't know if there should be any criminal charges.
You don't know that there should be any criminal trial? We'll have to save that one for next week.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
That's
My goodness.
1-800-MIKE, 1-800-MIKE
I
for
know.
all
I
hate
mean,
mail.
Now, if you said I don't think there's going to be any, yeah, I would go with that. But
I don't
there should
think.
absolutely
I
be
honestly,
some.
I don't think there should be any criminal charges. Dun dun dun.
You don't think that? Well, good. We should take that up next week.
I'm talking about it.
Negligence
I'm not-
discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. We can talk about it. I'm not sold on it. I'm not going to die on the hill, but just I don't think.
For as many things that was done wrong, there should be somebody paying the price.
Civilly,
No, you can't
But I still think it was a
negligently
crime.
kill somebody. And I mean, I'm sure he didn't mean to do it, but there's.
I don't think he meant to do it. But the other thing is, there's no indicator that he was doing anything. And I would like to. I wish we could have like 2 or 3 experts come talk about this. But there's no indicator that he was doing anything that wasn't standard. I mean,
So we should
What-
talk about that because what I was reading, that lots of stuff he did was not standard.
Yeah, just about everything.
including not checking that gun himself clear when it was handed to him.
And blaming
And
other
they say
people.
that is standard on a movie set.
my understanding from what I've read, I'd be happy to talk to more experts. From what I've read,
Great.
it's not. He didn't do anything not standard. In the movies, they point guns at each other. They trust the armorer. All these other things are pretty standard on movie sets.
Yes, that's not what I read. Is that is not standard at all. And it's like the actors that are going to use the gun check the gun clear.
Yes.
The armorer checks it in front of them, hands it to them.
Right.
They check
I
it.
would love to read it.
Yeah,
I'm not
great.
buying that, by the way. I don't think that everybody on Saving Private Ryan. I don't think all 7,000 extras.
You don't think
check
they
their
didn't do that
guns
on
and-
Red Dawn?
Actually, there's a really cool scene in Red Dawn where he.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a really cool scene in Red Dawn. I don't think a lot of people pick up
Sorry,
on
Sam.
it. They go visit a family before they get the 2 girls.
Right.
They go visit this family, and he hands them. He goes, "Here, let me take your gun." And the guy in the house checks it. He
See?
checks it before he. Well, it's part of the. But what they're doing is a movie promoting gun safety. Anyway, let's move on. My understanding is we got to ask a question here. So it's time for everybody's favorite segment. Sam the Gunman, Stump My Nephew. How you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Fantastic. My understanding is that you're in the great north of Wisconsin, right?
Yep, I am.
And I think, aren't you the guy that stumped you from Minocqua? You're taking that guy to lunch, right? Isn't that the deal?
Yeah, coming up here later this week. Yeah, that's the plan.
His grand prize for stumping my nephew is he gets to have lunch with my nephew.
Cool.
How great is that, right?
Do you have a Denny's up there?
I don't think they have Denny's in Wisconsin.
We have better stuff up here.
Oh, for Pete's sake, Dave. They don't have Denny's in Wisconsin.
You should move.
Oh, my gosh.
You should move.
Okay, here we go. This week's question comes from Phil from a place called Phoenix. Question is, what unique feature was added to the Sharps carbine during the Civil War? What unique feature was added to the Sharps carbine during the Civil War?
Phil from sunny Phoenix, thanks for writing in. For those of you who don't know, the Sharps carbine is an early example of a repeating military rifle. It fed from a tubular magazine housed in the stock. Your listeners are figuring out my weak points and going for those. I don't know very well the whole lineage of all the various changes made to the Sharps carbine and Sharps rifle. So I'm just going to conjecture that it was some kind of change made to make the magazine easier to remove, or potentially that it had something to do with the lever used to cycle the action. But I don't know for sure. It could have been the sights for all I know. I'm going to say it was a change to make the magazine easier to use or more reliable.
Okay, this is the answer. An enterprising cavalry colonel came up with the idea of putting a mill in the stock of a Sharps carbine during the Civil War.
This one.
You want to finish it up?
Yeah, the coffee mill thing. So
we'll give you half credit.
All right. During the Civil War, it was mainly a push from Army logisticians during and immediately after the Civil War to reduce the amount of gear they had to issue to troops, so that it's cheaper to arm all these guys. And so there are a handful of Sharps out there that have coffee grinders in the stocks because soldiers needed their coffee to survive. Nothing has changed since then. You talk to any infantryman, he'll say the infantry in the Army or the Marine Corps is powered by caffeine and hate and nicotine. So they built coffee grinders into the stocks so that they didn't have to have a separate rifle and coffee grinder in the field. My understanding was that this did not last very long because it made the rifle more cumbersome and heavy and unwieldy. But there are a handful of them out there that have coffee grinders in the stocks.
An enterprising cavalry colonel came up with the idea of putting a mill in the stock of a Sharps carbine during the Civil War to grind feed. Lieutenant Colonel Walter King found it thoughtful to install a hand-cranked mill to the stock of a .52 caliber Sharps carbine. The idea was to have the mill enclosed in the stock with a detachable crank on the right-hand side. As a result, a horse trooper would dump oats or wheat in the bottom opening and grind that up for horse feed whenever on the move if needed. As the years went by, people assumed that the grinder was meant to grind coffee, which would have been more important to an army on the move. This was, however, wrong, as the grinder was found unsuitable for coffee beans by historians with the National Park Service. All in all, less than 100 carbines were ever converted, with an even lesser number being in circulation.
I see. There you go. I didn't know anything about it being used to grind feed. I had never heard that before. That's very interesting.
I didn't know
Thanks
that
for the question. Was it Phil?
That's Phil from...
Kind of makes sense, though, in a way.
It's kind of weird. That's a weird
You
question.
got to feed your horses.
I think the question needed to be more specific.
I think it was, I would agree it could have been more specific, but it was a good question. It was a tough question, obviously, because I didn't get it. But
so are we disqualifying this one?
There's a lot of experimentation out there on military arms from this time period, like the shovel bayonets and all sorts of wacky stuff like that not a lot of people know about.
So he gets a half of a...
He gets like a quarter.
A quarter.
Give him a
Oh,
quarter
good.
credit.
I think he got me. I think he got me.
I think he probably got you. So let me ask you this. Is it carbine or carbine?
I say carbine. Many people I've talked to say carbine. Some say carbine. It's not really a big deal in English because there are plenty of other loan words we mispronounce anyway. but I believe the more accepted version, at least in the United States, is carbine.
I think you're right. How long are you up in Wisconsin next Sunday as well?
No, I'm not.
You're
I'll be
off-
back in Virginia.
All right. Well, let the winner know that we all get a good picture and let him know that we're all thankful for his question and hopefully that he has a good lunch. Okay.
Yeah, will do. Thanks for having me on as always, guys. Good
All right,
night.
Sam. See you later,
Take care,
man.
buddy. All right, folks. Hey, subscribe to our show and give us a 5-star review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. And do us a favor and stop by one or all of our supporters and thank them. San Diego County, Orange County, and Inland Empire gun owners. In fact, join any one of those groups or all of them. The Dillon Law Group, PRMI Mortgage, Sage Tree Digital One, Seal One, Leo Hamill Fine Jewelry, San Diego Flight Training International, and our newest partner, U.S. Concealed Carry Association. And a big shout out to Joe Germisi, Michael Schwartz, Sam the Gunman, and Mr. Wonderful Brendan Thomas. Hope you folks all have a wonderful week. And remember, join San Diego County Gun Owners. It's super easy to do. You'll have more fun than you'll know what to do with. And you get to hang out with Joe Germisi and Michael Schwartz on a pretty regular basis right here on Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.